So thank you for joining us for our second week of Trauma-Informed Yoga. Today we are joined by Alia Fern from Bhakti Earth Yoga, and she's going to help us do some relaxation and some yoga today. So Alia, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. I'm going to also, make sure all of my recording features are on, because I think the video platform seems like it's going to be helpful for people moving forward. So I'm excited to offer that as well. I can introduce myself as well. My name is Alia Fern. I am a counseling intern, registered counseling intern with the state of Oregon. I'm also a registered yoga teacher. I've taught over 1,000 hours of yoga from my home base in Central Oregon. I'm excited to share this practice and my training in yoga for trauma and resiliency from my space. This is my counseling office, and hopefully be able to kind of impart something that's helpful for each of you in terms of the practice and how to kind of get more in touch with yourself, as we're all kind of moving through unknown times, and each of us comes in with kind of our own histories and things that are patterns of either stress or tension, and the ways that we can work with the body to help release those things, even if it's not time to kind of go with story or processing. Allowing the body to have its own process is also kind of a nice angle to work toward, kind of full wellness. I will move off to the mat here, and we'll get started. So inviting for your practice, whatever that looks like, if you have a safe, comfortable space, kind of somewhere that you feel like you're not going to be interrupted or bothered. Obviously, this is optimal for kind of a yoga practice or wellness practice, being able to kind of center into your space and time. There's a couple of kind of key things that we did introduce in the last video last week. So if you haven't seen episode 1, feel free to go ahead and hit that. There's kind of a nice introduction to this practice, and I will breeze into that a little bit here, but mostly save space and time for the yoga session. But I do want to introduce that the 4 key themes we will be working with kind of throughout this series include experiencing the present, making choices, taking effective action, and creating rhythms. And so you'll hear me just offer kind of invitation language so that it does stay within your realm of choice. I will offer options, various ways that you can practice pose. Maybe you try one thing for today. Maybe you revisit the video or revisit the practice and choose a different way next time, and just kind of see how the options feel in your own body. And so everything, so noticing that everything that I do offer is invitation, and there's nothing expected of anybody. There's something that you should be able to do. Each person is different, and each practice is different. Each day is different. Each breath is different. So just holding a lot of grace and space for yourself, that this really is about you and what you need in each kind of moment by moment through the practice. I will try to orient and give reminders to think about here and now. So maybe sensations. What sensations can you notice in your own body, in your skin, in your muscles, in your bones? Is there pressure? Is there stretch? Is there intensity? Being able to kind of build sensitivity to ourselves and the feeling that we have as we move through maybe some challenging places, some maybe positions we've never taken before, or shapes that we've never made. Keeping ourselves as much as we can present, oriented, and if the thoughts start to go or the to-do lists come in, that those are some ways sometimes that we cope with things that are hard, and that's okay. Trying as many times as we can to come back into what is actually here and now. Is it this breath, this inhale? Is it my big toe and the sensation that I have in my big toe? anything that helps us draw back into center. Making choices, however those fit for you, being able to take the action that follows your intention or that follows your choice. So making kind of clarity around what you need is one piece, actually moving toward that place of self-care and being willing to maybe back out of a pose 10, 15%, you know, if it feels intense and the body isn't happy, or if there's pain, especially if there's any kind of pain at any point in time, being willing to lessen or come back to something that feels safe and healthy for you, as we build that level of sensitivity in the body to engage safely. And then that fourth theme of creating rhythms. So we tap into the natural rhythms of breath, of kind of the pulse or the heartbeat. We will create kind of rhythm with our movements. We will, you know, work toward matching the pace of the breath and the pace of the movement together so that we're kind of organically aligning our system on those biorhythms and using the impact of the breath to help us moderate and regulate our emotions and mental wellness. Generally, as we slow down and exhale, we are allowing ourselves to engage the calming part of the nervous system. If we were to lengthen an inhale, that might be a way that we energize the system. So you can think about it in terms of balancing maybe anxiety and depression. Are you feeling anxious right now? Maybe you can extend your exhale a little bit longer than you inhale. Give yourself some time to engage that part of your nervous system to help you calm down. If you need an opposite movement, maybe things feel a little bit sluggish, a little bit down, a little bit blue. Maybe extending the inhale a little bit longer than the exhale can be a way of naturally building energy. And so I'll kind of introduce a little bit of breath practice here as we get started to demonstrate that, to illustrate it, and give you a sense of what that can feel like in your own skin. Also noticing that if at any point in time, as we kind of will check in with ourselves throughout the practice, if it feels like something is not helping you, but maybe causing more stress or more anxiety, more pain, more discomfort, we want to move away from those things and give ourselves back that chance to be at ease in the practice. So if that happens for you, or you notice, okay, I started at a mood of, or a wellness level of like 0 to 10. So if you think of 0 to 10, if we start calm at a 2, and after a practice we notice, okay, maybe we're creeping up into 5 or 6, that'd be an indication we want to moderate back down, pick something that feels easier, and see if we can come back into that 2 or a little bit lower as a baseline. As I said, I'll go ahead and introduce just a little bit of breath and check-in. So I introduced kind of that number scale. That's one way of checking in with ourselves. If you think of 0 to 10, 0 being really calm, cool, everything's great. 10 being, I can't imagine any more distress in my life right now, or my body, or how I feel. Just allow yourself a few moments to kind of turn inward. Maybe you soften the gaze. Maybe you just gently look down at the floor below you. Maybe you close your eyes if you feel safe doing that. And inviting just a few breaths and a chance for you to kind of pose that question inward. How do I feel right now? And as you pose that question, maybe you find that place on your number scale that feels right for you. Don't overthink it, kind of go with that first instinct. If a number scale doesn't fit, maybe it's a weather pattern. Are you partly cloudy? Is it thunderstorms today? Are you sunshine and 80 degrees? Finding, any kind of metaphor or visual that feels like a good space for you to recognize where you're at. Let's give a couple more moments for you to find that check-in space. Inviting you to notice your breath as we get started here today. Anything that you can notice at all. So that might be the sensation of air coming in your nostrils. That might be sensation of the chest or the belly expanding with breath in. maybe compression or releasing of some pressure with breath out. Can you hear the breath as it moves through kind of the nasal passage and down into the lungs? Is there anything else that gives you awareness of how the breath is moving? And if you would like to, inviting what we kind of introduced in the last session as well as sun breath. I'll offer a few different movements or options. Feel free to change the position of the legs if you get uncomfortable. Legs can stretch out. You might be seated in a folding chair here. That's another option. Or some kind of chair, maybe something without arms. So one way of illustrating the breath and creating the rhythm is by just elevating the hands off the lap a little bit with an inhale, and with the exhale, gently releasing them back down. This is kind of a soft way. If you want less movement than this, you can rest the hands and just lift the fingers or a finger to indicate that gentle movement. I'll just start and invite that gentle lift of hands off the lap with the inhale. And releasing back down with the exhale. Finding your own breath rhythm. It doesn't have to match mine. Allowing yourself to tap into what feels natural for you. We'll be taking one more round like this if you like. Another option for that sun breath movement is to make the hands go up and out a little bit wider, a little bit bigger. It's the same thing, lifting with the inhale and lowering with the exhale. Maybe taking a breath as you sweep the arms to any level. It doesn't have to come all the way up. Maybe you only go halfway. You might notice if you do kind of reach those arms out and take up a little bit more space, that you're actually allowing for the lungs to expand out to the sides as well. So noticing if you can tap into that sensation. Maybe feeling the breath kind of expand down into the lungs, down into the belly, and even into the back. You have space in the back of the lungs as well as the front. So just inviting maybe 2 more rounds or so here. A chance to feel what it's like to breathe in this way. You're always welcome to stop a practice before I do. You can come back into it, or you can just find a resting place that feels comfortable while we finish playing out that sequence. And I want to go ahead and offer that chance to play with the length of inhale and the length of exhale as well. So again, if you feel uncomfortable, you need to kind of pick a different seat or a way of being here. Feel free to moderate for yourself. I'm going to invite a noticing of breath in a different way. It's called an ujjayi breath or a victorious breath. That's kind of how that translates from the Sanskrit. So in our ujjayi breath, we're taking a gentle pressure on the back of the throat, like if you were to fog a mirror and make the sound. So you can even hold up kind of a hand mirror here and make that sound at your hand. That gentle pressure that makes that sound, we want to try to emulate that, but with the mouth gently closed if you can, and force that air, take that air through your nose on the inhale and the exhale, that same sensation. So if you can, take a deep breath in here and try to create that pressure in the throat with that exhale. So it becomes an audible breath. Maybe try to keep that pressure on the next inhale. And out with the exhale. Hand can stay or hand can lower if it's helpful. Maybe trying to engage another round or two with that breath, hearing the sound. So another way of thinking about that sound and pressure, go ahead and you can stay with that practice if it feels good to you. You can gently release it for a moment. Another way we can think about that is an ocean wave sound. So it's the sound, the wave coming into the shore and receding back into the ocean. So that's a nice visual too that you can bring in with the breath, breathing in that next wave and exhaling it out, watching that wave go back out to sea. Next wave comes in when it's ready. Exhaling to release it. Inhaling that next wave. Exhaling, letting it go. Maybe taking one more round if you like it. And full exhale. And then allow yourself to just kind of release that breath, set it off to the side. Maybe come back to something that feels a little bit more natural or normal for you in pace and depth. You can bring that check-in practice back in for yourself. So maybe, bring it back to the number scale or the weather pattern, whatever feels like it fits for you. See if there's been any shift. Maybe there has. Maybe you've gone down in distress. Maybe you've gone up a little bit in distress. Maybe you've stayed mostly the same. No judgments either way. Just allowing yourself to establish the practice of checking in and being aware. Maybe just taking a couple more moments of breaths to get that message and find that check-in. And so the way that we can expand on that now that we have kind of that breath control and we're moderating the pressure of the breath, we can bring that into extension of inhale and extension of exhale. And I want to kind of invite that with a little bit more movement if you feel good about it. You're welcome to kind of follow me. I believe we kind of went through what we call the seated cat-cow breath last session or on the last video, so you can kind of revisit that if you want more practice with it too. Starting from a comfortable seat, or you can be in a chair. You can also do this from standing if that feels good to you. It's just kind of an opening of the front body and an opening of the back body. I'm going to go ahead and stay grounded in my seat here for this time, but feel free to flex it and be creative. So I'm going to offer, as we kind of count, just a generic beat of the breath. I'll just do like a gentle clap. So this might be kind of a starting beat here. So as we bring in movement, trying to establish just an even beat of in-breath and out-breath. And you can bring in that ujjayi breath or that kind of ocean wave sound if that feels like it fits for you. I'm going to go ahead and move that clap just to my lap here so I can keep hands also grounded and supporting. With a deep breath in, if you'd like to, we'll start with a count of 4. You can choose 5 or 6 or 3, whatever feels like it fits for you. I'll start with 4. On an inhale, opening the front body for 4 counts, starting now. In breath, 2, 3, 4, and then exhaling, rounding it, 2, 3, 4. In breath, opening the front of the body, 2, 3, 4, and exhaling, rounding the back body, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. In breath, 2, 3, 4. Exhale and rounding, 3, 4. One more time. Inhale, opening front body, 3, 4. Exhale, rounding the back body, 3, 4. And then we're going to just come back up to kind of a neutral place here. Give ourselves a chance to just kind of settle that, let it go. Maybe come back in to check in, notice if you feel okay. with how things are going and how you are kind of engaged in the practice. And so from that place of kind of counting the breath, we can both extend either the inhale or the exhale, depending on how we want to moderate and kind of regulate our energy. So, for example, if you wanted to kind of lower things down, bring the temperature down a little bit, you can extend that exhale a little bit longer. So I'll go ahead and kind of keep the same beat and practice inhaling for 4 and exhaling for 6. So it can be with the cat-cow movement if you like that. It can just be with a straight spine. You can just kind of keep pace with me if you like. We'll go ahead and start in 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2. Oh, I lost my count. Sorry about that. Restart. Okay. As we're ready, inhaling for 4, exhaling for 6. In 3, 2, 1. Inhaling, opening the front body. 4, rounding the back body. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhaling, opening the front. 3, 4. Exhaling, back body. 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhaling. 2, 3, 4. Exhaling. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll go ahead and leave that one there. You can kind of see a sense of how we're using that counting breath. And you can also play with what that's like to extend the inhale over the exhale. Generally in this practice, I'm going to be kind of trying to tone it down, keep it calm, but you know how to use the tool if you feel like you need that elevation of energy. You can kind of reverse that pattern and try that on your own. But in order to kind of get a little bit more movement out of this practice, I'm going to offer from here a chance to kind of come toward hands and knees. If you like the support of cushion underneath your knees, you can use a folded blanket, a folded towel. Here's a way to kind of just create a little bit more cushion, especially if there's sensitivity in the knees. Likewise, if you have carpal tunnel or sensitivity in the wrists, maybe folding, if it's a yoga mat or a blanket or a cushion, so that you have a little bit more cushion just at the base, the heels of the hands, and the fingers can kind of flow down the mat at an angle, a little bit of an angle, not too much. So those are ways that you can help keep yourself safe and healthy in this practice. And we'll go ahead from hands and knees, if it feels comfortable to you, just starting to kind of find our way into what we call our table pose. 4 legs on the ground and the back body is kind of the tabletop. And if you like to, just take the tailbone side to side, sway that low body a little bit, again, making a gentle rhythm. Maybe this becomes the beat of your count, and you can engage in that counting breath here as well. Maybe taking a couple of beats, 2, 3, 4 beats for an in-breath. Maybe noticing how long the exhale is, if you want to extend that exhale at all, an extra count. Go ahead and just try that another few beats or few moments. Giving ourselves a chance just to warm up the low body. When you feel ready to bring it back to center, feeling free to do so. So now the hips and the shoulders are all in line, coming back to just kind of a centered table pose. And then offering that same movement into the upper body if you would like to. So now we're just tilting from kind of the middle of the back, taking the shoulder, maybe toward the hip, the gaze can go with it. You want to look side to side. Try to keep the low body still and just moving through the upper spine. That might feel easy for you, that might feel really challenging for you. Either way, just know there's no judgment. There's nothing that you should be able to do or should experience or should feel. It's just exploration, getting comfortable with what it's like to move in rhythm with breath. Maybe giving yourself a couple more times, side to side, a couple more moments. Finishing with an even number on both sides. Go ahead and come back to center. We'll go ahead and take it back into what we call child's pose. So hips moving back toward the heels. My big toes touch behind me. Yours don't have to. My knees right now are close together. You can keep that kind of shape, or you can open up the shape if you want a little bit more kind of stretch into hip flexors. Opening the knees a little bit wider will help create that sensation. And then lowering the upper body down over, so maybe the belly comes to the legs. And that will just kind of all depend on your personal body, your flexibility, and where you are today. Arms can extend out if you like, or they can wrap in by the sides of the body if that's more comfortable for you. And then taking the forehead toward the floor. It might touch, it might not. If you want to create a little bit of cushion for the forehead, you can stack the palms or the fists and make a connection to the forehead to the floor. And then just allow yourself to drop into that place of noticing. Do you feel okay here? Is there stretch? Is there pressure? Is there intensity? Noticing too, if the body doesn't feel good in this shape, that you can move out of it. You can come back to a table pose. You can come back to a seated shape. Again, there's nothing that you have to do. This is only a chance to kind of explore what feels right now. And in this shape, you can bring back that sense of counting your breath. You can tap your fingers to keep track of your beats. Anytime we can kind of bring mind back into noticing the breath, we're helping ourselves stay present in the moment. Go ahead and just give a couple more moments or breaths here, however you choose. You can move out sooner and find a different shape. Maybe finishing the last inhale and exhale. When it feels right for you, maybe coming back up to a table pose. Good. So go ahead and give an option here for a downward facing dog if that feels okay to you. So this is a shape that kind of comes from a hands and knees pose to tucking the toes. You can choose maybe to, you don't have to go very far, maybe you just lift up a little bit, that's a strengthening shape. Maybe you want to lift up all the way into a downward facing dog, lift the hips, maybe press the heels back toward the floor. You can walk your dog if you want to alternate a bend in the knees. Maybe you just try that shape and come immediately back down. You can choose, does that feel safe for you? Is that uncomfortable in any way? And you can modify by coming back to hands and knees. Again, maybe just coming up a little ways. Maybe stretching out into the shape a little bit at a time. Or if it feels like a really good place for you to be, you can kind of settle into it, stretch the heels toward the floor, maybe really press the hands into the ground, pressing the earth away from you. Lots of different ways to experience kind of a downward facing dog. So choosing something that feels right in your own body today. And again, always time to kind of reset the shape, maybe practice coming in and going out of it. Nothing says that you have to stay or hold for an extended period of time. But we just leave kind of a length of time for you to explore what it's like for you today. So maybe giving it a couple of more breaths. However you like that practice for yourself. And when you feel ready to take it into rest, maybe you come back toward a child's pose. You can release the forehead toward the floor, relax into the spine. And try to find softness wherever you can bring in softness, releasing effort. Maybe you notice there are tight places in your muscles. Notice if you can soften these. Help to let some of the tension go. Giving it another breath or two here in your child's pose as you like. And when you feel ready to let that stretch go, you can come back toward hands and knees. I'll go ahead and offer time to come all the way down toward the floor, belly down toward the floor here. You have the cushion of a blanket. You might draw that up to where it's centered underneath the hips if that feels good to you. And then rising off of the floor here with the upper body. This is a Sphinx pose, and I can turn my angle a little bit. You can see that better. So the legs are straight out behind, tops of the feet to the floor. The weight is kind of bearing into the forearms, the hands, and the elbows. So I'm pressing the floor away, lifting the heart here. The gaze can come up a little bit, or can be down kind of at the level of hands on the floor. You might feel good about lengthening the back of the neck, getting a little bit more stretch for space there. And if for any reason it's uncomfortable to you, or you want to, again, kind of come out of the shape and try resetting it, lots of different ways to experience this. I'll give a couple of moments just to breathe into the shape for you to explore what the sensation is like. Notice how it feels in your own skin. If there's anything else that you need or need to let go of here, you can come back into one more present breath, full inhale and full exhale. And I'm going to offer just one modification. If it works for you, walking those hands forward a couple of inches. And then if you like to kind of do a little bit of a shoulder rinse, sinking down into the shoulders, kind of letting the chest kind of collapse toward the floor. You can release the head and the neck as well. You might notice some stretch or intensity there in the shoulder girdle and up into the neck muscles. You can play with that. You can add some movement if you like. You can press or squeeze into different areas using the shoulder blades to create some pressure on any knotted tissue or tight places. Maybe you breathe and wiggle through those. Just again, creating awareness for what's there. You don't have to change anything. Nothing has to kind of fully let go or be banished from your life. There's nothing forceful here. Just time to explore, notice where things sit, how they sit. So when you feel like you are ready or approaching ready to release that practice, giving some intention to yourself. Maybe you release all the way down onto the floor with the chest, maybe cheek to one side. Maybe you allow the hands to come down by the sides of the body. And giving just a few moments here in a belly down rest. This is intentional relaxation. We're trying to get as many of the muscles we can to be as soft as possible. So just scanning through the body, kind of turning your gaze inward, noticing what might be holding on or tense. And if you can invite those places to gently let go or start to shift toward more ease, giving yourself time and breath to help create that change. Maybe you bring your check-in system back and notice what your number or your weather is now. Give it a couple more breaths or moments here if you choose. Letting anything else go that feels ready to release. You can bring your chin back to center when you're ready. Palms underneath the shoulders and fingers spread nice and wide for support. Taking a little shoulder roll, perhaps gently pressing yourself back up. If that's not a safe movement for you and you want to kind of roll to one side and then press yourself back up, there's another way, kind of coming back up off the floor. However you choose to move, doing so with care for yourself. From here, I'd like to offer time to come to standing, a little bit of a standing practice. So maybe you clear the blanket or towel off the mat. You can find your own way of standing. One safe way is kind of coming from one knee and one foot, hand on the leg, to help support standing up, especially if there's sensitivity through the back of the legs. And I just want to kind of moderate, tilt the screen up so I can stay in the picture. There we go. Excellent. So from here, coming up into standing pose, I'm going to offer a mountain pose. This also can be done from the floor in a seated shape or a chair. The only difference is kind of engagement with straight legs versus bent legs. However, wherever you are, we can still kind of add the energy that we're looking for into the muscles. Feet can be about hip width distance or a little bit closer. If you want to bring the big toes together to touch and experience that way, you can. If you want to keep the feet a little bit separated, you're welcome to. Sometimes that helps create a little bit more balance. A wider stance is a wider base of support, maybe that wider base to your mountain. You can choose where you feel you'd like to be here today. I'm going to offer a chance to be aware if you can spread the toes out a little bit here. Maybe you spread those toes nice and wide. Maybe you can feel your way across the feet, maybe side to side, shifting the balance. So looking for that center point of the balance. And so when you kind of find that place where you're steady, we're going to ground energy down through the feet and into the floor. Maybe you choose to imagine you're digging roots from the bottoms of your feet into the earth below you and establishing even more steadiness, even more balance, and tapping into the earth as a resource. We're going to gently just invite awareness of different parts of the body as we kind of work our way from the ground up. And if you would like to, I'm going to invite also hugging the muscles into the bones or kind of lighting up those muscles as we talk about them. And this just helps us to add strength into the body, give intention into this shape. So as you notice, maybe the calf muscles, if you want to engage or squeeze them, hug them in toward the bones, you can. Maybe you notice the shin muscles can add a little bit of squeeze or engagement. Offering a little bit of a lift in the kneecaps helps to kind of bring the quadriceps online. Maybe you notice or engage the hamstrings behind the legs. You might tuck the tailbone underneath you. Maybe hips or glutes also engage. You might notice the navel coming in toward the spine or into the belly a little bit more, so wrapping the abdomen muscles in towards center. You might notice the heart can lift or the shoulders can roll back here if that feels good to you. And then you might just take the crown of the head, which is this very top center of the head, just move it up toward the sky a little bit, creating some lift. And if at any point in time any of this kind of engagement or talking about it, noticing about different parts of the body, any of that feels like too much or overwhelming for you, just letting it go. It doesn't have to be part of your practice today. This is just an opportunity to practice standing strong and finding that balanced place on the feet or in the chair. Again, maybe just getting another breath or two into this place of engagement, bringing all the muscles on board, online, lighting them up with energy. Taking a couple of breaths here to notice what it feels like in this shape. You're taking one more deep breath here if you like it. And a full exhale out. If you want to add a little bit of sun movement, like we did before from seated, with the inhale, you can rise the arms up. And exhale, gently release those arms down. Allowing the movement to match the pace of the breath. And again, your pace doesn't have to match mine. This can be all yours. Maybe taking another round here if you like it. Full exhale. Good. Option from here to bring the palms together and bring them into heart center. So I'm actually touching the base of the thumb into the sternum or the heart bone, right there in the center of the rib cage. If that's comfortable for you, maybe holding it there. If that's not comfortable for you, you can always create a little bit of space between the hands and the chest. But trying, if it's okay for you to do so, to press the palms together and create some action. That helps us to roll the shoulders back and down and to squeeze the shoulder blades together along the back, creating some space in the heart. So from here, from our standing pose, I'm going to invite what we call a chair pose. And chair pose just looks like taking a seat in an invisible chair. We rock the weight back into the heels. You might notice that you can lift or wiggle the toes here. If the knees are out in front of the toes, say like that, that's not a safe space for the knees to be, so maybe you raise up a little bit. You don't go down so far. So finding what feels good to you in a chair pose. Maybe it's coming out of the shape and moving back into it. You can flow that with the breath if you'd like to. You can make it a flowing rhythm. Maybe inhaling as you stand and exhaling as you lower. Again, you can choose the depth, you can choose the pace, what matches your own breath here. If you'd like to kind of stick and hold the pose, you can practice what it's like to add depth. If you want to sink a little bit deeper, what does that feel like? Do you add strength into the low body? When we wrap all those muscles in tight, bring those muscles online and engaged. for support and strength. You can try that. And give it another moment or two here, just for whatever else you might want to notice or experience with this shape. And then on an inhale, pressing the floor away, standing up nice and tall. Very good. We'll go ahead and release those hands back down to the ground. Well, bent down to the sides. Coming back toward a mountain pose. If it feels good to you, we can take some time to walk those feet out a little bit wider and come into what we call a 5-point star. So this is option for you. If you want to bring the hands out to the sides, you can. You don't have to. You can keep the hands low or on the hips, wherever it feels right for you. And if you are seated in a chair, my chair is holding up my computer right now, so I don't have it available. But you can kind of move yourself to the edge of the seat of the chair, send the legs out wide, and maybe open up the arms here as well. So a 5-point star. We're going to send our energy in each of the directions that we have one of the main parts of body moving. So starting with maybe the right arm, we're sending the energy from the core of the body through the shoulder, the elbow, wrist, hand, and fingers. So really reaching like I'm going to go touch this side wall without even moving. And then the same thing in the other arm, reaching strong from the core of the body out to the side. And you can kind of practice what that's like. Maybe 1 second of that is enough for you. You want to release it and then maybe come back. If it feels okay to hold a little bit longer, you can do so. And then we'll also practice sending that energy down the right leg. So from the core of the body, grounding energy into the floor or the earth or the mat. Same thing with the left leg, grounding that energy down. And that can be, maybe you need to make it a little bit soft for a couple of seconds, and then you can come back into it. Maybe you kind of find that hold for yourself. Noticing strength can come in. Maybe you like a little bit of a wiggle in the hips or the shoulders. Lots of different ways to kind of play with the shape. And then that last way of moving, again, like in mountain pose, taking the crown of head a little bit higher toward the sky. So stretching length into the spine. And giving our breath to this shape. We'll go ahead and give it just a couple more moments. If you need to kind of take a break and reset, feel free to do so. Maybe one last big in-breath and full exhale. And when it feels good to you, kind of soften that shape. I invite you to kind of bend into the knees, maybe bounce side to side a little bit, maybe shake or wiggle through the shoulders and the arms. I love adding bounce into my practice, this bouncing release. This is great for lots of times in transition between shapes. Giving ourselves a chance just to kind of release stress, release tension. Sometimes you can even get the feet or the legs in there if you want to wiggle low, maybe shake the hands. This can be a good way of just kind of releasing stuck energy, stress, or friction, tension in your life. This can come in any time of day, almost anywhere you are. So with that, we're going to go ahead and close out the standing practice, maybe bringing hands back to your heart or the heart space that feels good to you. And inviting just like a slow lower from here. So maybe we'll start halfway. Hands can connect to the legs or the knees. This is what we call a halfway fold, or if we're coming from a low fold, we can come up to the shape as a halfway lift. A flat back here. Allowing ourselves to kind of keep the legs long. If there's a little bend in the knees, that's okay. Maybe gradually over time, we're working on straightening. And then noticing if you can keep the shoulders down away from the ears. Pressing the crown of the head this time is going to move straight in front of you to lengthen the spine away from the tailbone. And try to create as flat a back as possible. Maybe you tuck the shoulder blades toward each other on the spine, if that feels okay. And just taking a couple rounds of breath here. If it feels good, you're welcome to kind of release the shape. Maybe you sit back and bend the knees. You can rest the elbows on the knees instead if you need a resting place. Maybe come back into that halfway lift or halfway fold. Trying it again, seeing if it feels different to you the next time you approach it. Maybe you find rest in that, we call this a ski pose, elbows to the knees. You can even hang the head forward here and relax the spine just a little bit more if that feels okay. So a few different shapes and variations to play with, different levels of energy in each of these options, so choosing what fits for you right now. And if you'd like to take it down a little bit further, you might walk those hands down the legs. You might reach the floor. You can always use a cushion or a pillow, a stack of books, something to help you make a hand and floor connection if it's not available to you right now. You can also use a piece of furniture to hold on to that can help stabilize. Wherever you are in your forward fold, you can still be in a rest pose and ski pose if that's good, or a forward fold if you like that. Trying to relax the head and the neck so the spine can become as long as possible. You might just try gently nodding yes and no. If you need a break from the inversion, the head below the heart, feel free to come back up to standing at any time, or make your way all the way down onto the floor. That is where we, as a group, will go next. But you can go there sooner if you need to. If you like the inversion, getting the blood flow back to the heart, the lungs, and the brain. This can be a healthy practice to develop for you and help relieve stress, relieve anxiety. It can even help you sleep better over time. Okay, so when it feels right for you to kind of move down toward the floor, you can stabilize hands toward the floor and step back, maybe grounding one knee at a time. If you have your own way of moving down to the ground, feel free to take care of yourself with those movements. I'll invite coming all the way down onto the floor, all the way onto the back. Just the screen one more time. So maybe releasing yourself all the way down, could be one vertebra at a time, nice and slow. You might go down all at once. And then if it feels okay to you, maybe drawing the knees into the chest for a little hug. You can take the hands to the legs with the knees. You can wrap the arms around them if that's available to you. Option to rock side to side a little bit and help massage the spine and work out any tension in the back of the body. Maybe you just like to experience that shape, hugging the knees in close. Anytime we give compression to the internal organs, the belly, especially compressing with the legs, we're giving ourselves a chance to release and squeeze out some toxins through the internal organs, the liver, spleen, kidneys. That's a healthy way of kind of getting release in our system. I'll invite you to go ahead and ground the feet down to the floor. Maybe just take the knees side to side this time, keeping the rest of the body kind of still and grounded. Giving the massage this time to the lower spine, the sacral spine, at the back of the low back, the back of the pelvis back there. And then as you feel ready, you can bring the knees back into stillness. Gently extend one leg at a time, all the way down to the ground. Inviting a release of the arms down by the sides as well. The palms can face the sky, the fingers can gently curl. Setting ourselves up for our final relaxation. This is called corpse pose or shavasana. And I'll invite you to try out this space if it feels okay to you to find stillness and calm here. Trying to stay with that, but also being willing to bring that honest check-in if it feels like this is not comfortable for you or elevates anxiety or stress in any way. You might just find yourself coming back to a seated pose instead, and we'll finish out the class just with a little bit of mindfulness. If it feels okay for you to stay grounded, again, noticing you might want a blanket over top of you, you can bring that in. I'm going to move back to the seat so that I can speak clearly toward the screen. So if you want to join in the seat, you're welcome to. But I encourage you just to find as deep a relaxation space as you can. If it feels like you are wiggling a lot or fidgeting, just noticing that. The goal over time may be to try to find more stillness in your practice. For today, it doesn't have to start there. I'll invite just awareness of different parts of the body. And I'll just kind of offer, you can scan through your own self as I talk about different things to be aware of. If you find that there's tension in these spaces, maybe just gently letting them go. Maybe you just notice that that tension is true for you right now. So allowing yourself to notice or relax through the feet and the toes. Noticing or relaxing through the ankles and the heels. Noticing or relaxing the shins and the calves, the lower legs as wholes. Noticing or relaxing into the knees. Noticing and relaxing into the upper legs, quadriceps on the front sides. Noticing and relaxing the hamstrings on the backs. Noticing or relaxing into the hips, the low belly, and the low back. Noticing or relaxing the abdomen, the internal organs. Maybe they can be free and float here. Noticing or relaxing the rib cage. Maybe allowing more softness, more space around the heart and the lungs. And then noticing or relaxing into the chest and the collarbones. Noticing or relaxing the shoulders, the upper arms. Noticing or relaxing the elbows and the forearms. Noticing or relaxing into the wrists and the hands. Noticing or relaxing all 10 fingers here. Noticing or relaxing the upper back and the shoulder blades. Maybe noticing or relaxing into the neck and the throat, the voice. Noticing or relaxing the jaw, the mouth, even the teeth can be softer here. Noticing or relaxing the nose, the cheeks, the ears. Noticing or relaxing the eyes, the brows, the forehead, and temples. Noticing or relaxing all the muscles of the scalp, even to the ends of the hair. Noticing this whole body present, maybe a little bit calmer than when you started. Maybe a little bit more clear around what's present for you, where you would like to go next with your practice. Maybe new ways that you can care for yourself, new tools that you can bring in to help yourself feel better. Maybe taking just another couple of breaths here as I will ring our closing bell. Allowing yourself to notice any calmness, any positivity that you are now embodying, that you can keep in touch with. Even if you start to add movements back in, maybe wiggling fingers and toes, maybe circling wrists and ankles. But you can keep these movements calm and slow. You might choose to stay grounded on the floor. Maybe you can give yourself 15 or 20 minutes and rest or a nap. You might choose to come back to a seated place to close this practice. You're welcome to join me in the seat if you choose. But most of all, leaving space for you to invite any positive thing that you want to take from this practice today or this time of self-care. Anything that was meaningful to you that you want to remember, trusting that the rest will also be there for you when you need it. And honoring you and your courage and taking on maybe new ways of being, new challenges, new breath in each moment. I honor the light and the love in each of you, and speaking the word namaste to close this practice. Honoring you, honoring your light, namaste. And just thank you for your participation. If there's any questions or comments, please feel free to pass those on to the CAP advocates. They can get messages back to me, and then we can use the space available. We'll open up on Friday, I believe, the space for kind of feedback and interaction. I can help answer questions or process with you what it's like to kind of be moving through your yoga practice, and if I can support or answer anything or give you more in-depth information, I'm happy to do so. And I think Stephanie is unmuted. Do you want to have a closing comment?
I just want to thank you again for your time today. And yeah, we'll be having a session at 9 on Friday if folks want to join us for that. If not, we'll see you all next week on Tuesday. Thank you.